All right, this is going to be the last video for the Mario demo project. Once again, just getting you reacquainted with Construct. What I'm going to do in this video is we're going to just make Mario do some running. And then we are also going to do a brick breaking mechanic and get these bricks to break. And then at the end of the video, I'm just going to give you some suggestions for things to do and add on your own as you go through this game. Okay. So what we're going to do is get Mario to run. So we're going to go to our event sheet here really quick. We can just do this right inside the Mario group here. I can just add another event to that Mario group. And basically, I'm going to have S to be the button for running, but you can do whatever you want. But I'm just going to do a keyboard, and I'm going to say key is down. And I'm going to click, and I'm going to do S. But whatever button you want to make Mario run. Okay. So I've got S, maybe it's S for speed, right? Okay, key is down, S. Then what I'm going to do is we just need to increase his max speed. So I think his default we set was 175. So I'm going to go ahead and add an action for Mario. And I'm going to go speed. And what we want to do is we want to do set max speed. And we're going to set his max speed to 300, okay? So while I'm holding S down, his speed is going to be 300. So if I test that really quick, you can see he's moving. And then I hold down S and he goes really fast like that, okay? But now when I let go of S, he stays fast. So that's another issue that we have to deal with, okay? So what we're going to have to do is add some more events to this to kind of fix that. The other thing too that you'll notice when I did that was his animation speed stayed slow as well, right? So we can adjust that here as well. So I'm going to add an action for Mario, and we're going to do set speed, but we're going to do the one under animation this time. And we're going to set his animation speed to 12. Okay, so while we're holding down S, we set his max speed to 300 and we set his animation speed to 12. Okay, then what we're going to do is another event. And what I think I'm going to copy it this time. So I'm going to right click, copy, right click, paste. And you notice I copy and paste in different ways just to remind you that there are different ways to do it. You just decide what you like. So I'm going to go in and edit this one. So I'm going to double click. And basically when we release the S button, we need his speed to return to normal and his actual physical speed and then also his animation speed. So I'm going to click back on here and we're going to change it to on key released. Leave it on S. And then we're going to set his speed back to 175. Pretty sure is what we set. And animation speed back to, I want to say it was 8. I could be wrong, but I think 8 is what it was. We can always double check it. We can just double click Mario here, go into walk. Yep, it's 8. So we're good to go. So if we try that out really quick. So you can see Mario moving, walking at that, and then I hold down S. And now you see that his animation actually goes faster, which is really nice. And then I can let go and he goes back to normal. So if you did that correctly, that's what it should do. Okay, you can see Mario's just jumping through the bricks. So we definitely have some work to do there, right? All right, so let's go ahead and head back here. But that's it for the running. That was super easy, right? So let's go ahead and get to these bricks here. And the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to click the brick on the right side. And we actually haven't even made these solid yet. So that's probably a good idea that we do that, right? So let's go ahead, just click the brick on the right side. I think if you clicked any single brick, it would be fine because the behavior would be global throughout the object. It would do it to all of them. So click behaviors, add a new behavior, solid. Okay. And then that should work just fine. Mario should be able, yeah, he can jump, he can bonk his head, all that stuff. All right, good. So we got some bricks to interact with. Now here's the part that's going to be kind of new and interesting. What we're going to do is we're going to make it just like the real Mario game, where if he hits the brick, it's going to spew out a bunch of bricks above it. Okay, so we're going to use an object called a particle. Now, depending on your experience in my intro class, you may or may not know much about particles, but I think I did talk about it with Asteroid Destroyer, and we did a few kind of things with that as well. So we're going to use it in kind of a different way here. So I'm going to double click out here. We are going to make a particle. And I might just call it like brick break or something. Just so I know that it's not the actual brick, it's the breaking part of the brick. Okay, and I'm going to click here. Now, when you're doing a particle, you could just fill it in with a solid object. So if I just made it like a color that was similar to my bricks, like if I did this and I did a paint bucket, that would probably be just fine. Some objects, though, you could just load in the same picture. So like I can just load in a picture and just have like little mini bricks pop out. That'll probably work fine as well. Okay, in terms of the size here, I don't really need to worry about that because we're going to size it up in the properties, I think. So here's my giant brick particle thing. What I might do, just so you can see it, you don't have to do this. I'm going to resize it out here really quick just so that you guys can see, because I feel like the image is interrupting the particle image, and I just want you to be able to see that. There. So you can see these big red lines here. Those are the angles showing me what direction and what angle the particles would be spraying. So by default, it's going to spray these bricks out to the right. And if I just put this on here and I run the game, this is what it looks like with default settings. It's just spraying out a bunch of bricks. Okay. So we're going to change some properties to this. So I'm going to highlight this. We're going to go here on the left, and we're going to change the rate to 6. So what the rate is if you're doing continuous spray, which is what the default is, it's how many copies of that particle are going to appear per second. So right now it sprays 6 per second. What we're going to do is we're going to do a one shot, which means it's just going to do it one time. So on a one shot, this means it's literally only going to spray out 6 bricks. Okay. The spray cone, that's how wide this red cone is. We're going to widen it up a little bit. We're going to go 90. And you'll see that those red lines just got a little bit wider, right? Okay. Then we are going to change the speed to 500 so they shoot out a little bit faster. We are going to change the particle size to 5. So this is why I didn't really need to resize it earlier. This is where we're setting the actual. So each particle I'm going to only have be 5 pixels in size. They're going to be pretty small. Okay. Then what I'm going to do is I need to set some gravity. So I'm going to scroll down here and do gravity. The reason why we want gravity is if I don't have gravity, basically the idea is Mario jumps up and hits the brick. I'll go over here. Mario jumps and hits this brick, and it spews particles up in the air. If I don't have gravity, the particles are just going to fly up off the screen. But if you guys have ever played the original Mario games, the bricks kind of pop up, but then they fall down because they're heavy bricks. So we're going to put a lot of gravity on here, like 2,000, to show that those heavy bricks are going to fall back down to the ground. Okay. We're going to go down to destroy mode. And instead of fading, we're just going to do a timeout. So basically, if you do fade, it'll just basically slowly fade out and disappear. Timeout means that we can set this timer here, and after that many seconds, it'll just immediately get destroyed. And we're going to put the timeout at like 2 seconds just to make sure it has enough time to fall off the screen, and then the particles will get destroyed when they fall off the screen. Okay. Now, if I run this, you'll see the issue is the bricks, they still just like spew out to the right, right? It just fell out to the right. So we want the angle to be upward, but we don't have to change the actual properties on this because we're going to spawn it out later anyways. So I do want that off screen. And it's kind of like a bullet where if it's off screen and you're going to spawn it in later, you need it off screen and you want to destroy it right away. So I'm going to go back to my onStart of layout. I'm going to add an action for the brick break, and I'm going to destroy it right away. Because otherwise that particle, I don't want that just sitting off screen. Okay. All right. So we've got that. So then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into my event sheet. And what I could do is I could just add a new group if I feel like it needs its own group. So let me just add a group here. And maybe I'll just call it like bricks. Let's add an event to the bricks group. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to say, so I want to set the angle of the bricks, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do brick break on created. So this means anytime a brick break is created, we can have this action happen. And what we're going to do is we're going to set the angle to go straight up into the air. I'm going to take a moment just to show you on Google Classroom. If you ever forget like angle of motion, up here in resources, one of the resources I have is this angle of motion chart. And you can see that this shows you what direction in degrees. So we can see straight up is 270. Straight down is 290, 180, and 0. And if you want one of the in-betweens, you can kind of just do the math and figure out the numbers that would be in between those angles there. Okay. All right. So we're going to go 270. So let's head back to my game, add action, brick break, set angle, which is just this one right here. And we want that to be 270. Okay. And I'm going to click done. So then what we have to do is we're going to have to do some collision events, right? So I might add another event to this brick group, and I'm going to do Mario on collision with another object. Oops. And he's going to collide with the brick. Okay. Done. So Mario on collision with brick. I want to destroy the brick. And then I want it to spawn the bricks out as well, right? So I'm going to say Mario on collision with brick. I'm going to do brick destroy.
All right, so then after we destroy the brick, we're going to add an action here that the brick is going to spawn the particles. So what we're going to do is we're going to add an action for the brick, and then we're going to do spawn another object, and then we're going to spawn the brick particles, which is the brick break. Okay, now the layer here is really important. If you leave this at 0, it'll spawn on the background layer, which has a different parallax, and it causes the particles to be misaligned. So what we want to do is we want to spawn that on layer 1, which is the blocks layer. For now, we're going to leave it at image point 0, but we will change that later. So we're going to click done. And then it's really important that the brick break or the particles are spawned before the brick is destroyed, because if the brick is destroyed first, then it will not exist to spawn the particles. So we have to drag that on top and have the brick spawn the particles first. Make sure it is on layer number 1, and then we'll destroy the brick.
Okay, so this isn't perfect, but let's just see what this looks like right now. So Mario, he hits it, and you can see the bricks kind of pop out. Okay, so one thing that you noticed was that the bricks were kind of coming out of the middle. What we could do if we wanted to be really fancy with this is we could go to my origin here, right click out here in the image points. We're going to make a new image point 1. So right click, make new image point, and we are going to right click and we are going to quick assign it to the top. Okay, so this is going to be the point where we want the particles to spew out of. So we're going to put that image point there. Then when I go back to my event sheet, rather than spawning it from image point 0, we're going to spawn it from image point 1. Okay, now that should look a lot smoother. So we're going to go ahead and try that really quick. Yep, that's much better. Now the other issue we're going to have though is Mario can hit them from like the top and stuff, and we don't want that. Okay, so we got to figure out why that's going on there. Okay, so what we're going to do is we want to make it so Mario only destroys the blocks when he's underneath them. So what we have to do is we have to compare Mario's Y coordinate. And this will be the last part of the video, and then I'll just talk about a couple things quick and we'll be done. So what we're going to do is we basically just have to add a condition to this. So I'm going to right click on this arrow. I'm going to add another condition, and I'm going to do Mario. I'm going to do compare Y. Okay, so this is Y coordinate. We want to make sure that it is greater than block.y. So we're going to do greater than block, or brick, sorry, brick.y. Okay. Okay. And then that should be it. By having this here, so saying Mario's y is greater than brick.y, here's what it means. If we go back here, Y coordinate starts at 0 at the top and increases as we move down. Mario's Y is his origin right here in the middle. It's that little white dot there. The brick's Y is the bottom edge because we put it in bottom left, so that bottom edge. So basically we say Mario has to collide with the brick, but his Y has to be greater than brick.y, which means he has to be underneath the brick. So basically, let me turn my grid off. I forgot to turn that off again. So I'll click those two. Okay. All right, so you can see Mario's Y is right here on this origin, height-wise, and then the brick's Y is right here. So as long as Mario's origin is basically below the bottom line of the brick, it should trigger. So we can test it out really quick. So if I like hit this one, yep, that went good. And then if I touch that, you can see I can actually jump on these now without breaking them. So we're good to go. Okay, so that's it for the bricks. So basically from this point forward, I would say your demo is done for just getting your refresher in. So hopefully it's helped you remember just some basics of Construct. But if you want to play around more with this game on the side, I highly recommend you do so throughout the semester. This game is meant to be kind of like your playing ground where you can just mess around, try out new concepts maybe that you don't want to try in your game right away, but then you just want to test it somewhere else first. Or maybe you're really motivated and you want to try to flesh this out into a full Mario game. So if you look in the Mario assets, there's all kinds of things we haven't used. And if you want to try programming those in, you certainly could do that at any time. So you could try adding coins, adding score, and like all the text stuff because we made the HUD layer but didn't actually put any text on it yet. You could try adding the Goombas in. You could try making blocks that give you coins, like the coin blocks. You could have Mario shoot the fireballs out with the shoot animation. You could have make it so he has to collect the flower first before he does it. Um, you could try making exit, making more levels, putting Bowser in the game. So if you really want to play around with it and add on to it, those are some things I would want you to try on your own. And then if you do decide to do some of those and you don't know how, you can ask for help and I'll help you get through those. All right, so this finishes the Mario demo.